Hello, Ambika.
Hello, how are you, Alexandra?
I'm just fine. I'm really happy that we could meet this way.
Thank you so much for asking me to do an interview with you.
My pleasure. You know, I just have to say that and just point out that you have a more lovely background to this screen than I do. All your fantastic paintings, they're wonderful.
Thank you.
Tell me, what is it?
They're angels. What you see directly behind me is the Archangel Michael, right here.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got the nine levels of angels here on my wall behind my desk, and I feel their blessing and inspiration and guidance. I've got angels all over the house, all over my office, even in my car.
As a painting, or?
Well, little on the visor, I have a little painting and a little photograph of a painting. Yeah, I've got a little statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's like, I like protection. I like the sense of protection. I like the sense of guidance that keeps me grounded in self and in spirit.
What we see behind you, they are actually your paintings, if I understand correctly.
Yes, they were the first paintings that I did maybe 10 years ago of angels. And it was a process of taking wet paper, throwing paint down, just the primary colors, and letting the paint dry, and the next day seeing what formed, and what formed were angels. And then I just took gold and silver ink and filled it in, and I've got hundreds of these paintings now. The ones that are in the Angels of Light are all paintings that were done that way. Nothing is premeditated. You know, if a dog came up or a horse came up, and sometimes it has, they're not included in that collection of angels, but almost all of them have been angels. It's shocking to me, shocking.
So it wasn't something that you planned on doing?
No, I'll tell a story. It's in the book. About 6-7 years ago, my work just dried up. I've been working and supporting myself all of my adult life. The work just kind of closed in, and there was very little work. And I didn't know what to do with my time. And I sat down and I said to myself, whatever happens, I will not give up my happiness. That was the first thing I said. I will not give up my happiness. The second thing I said was, what makes me happy? And these paintings were done during the 12 Holy Nights of Christmas about 12 years ago. And it's the only time I have to paint. I'm a homeopathic practitioner, I'm a teacher, I'm an author, and I don't have a lot of time to paint. So I would paint during the Christmas holidays, and suddenly I said, I love painting. So I got a little job that paid for food and mortgage, and the rest of the time I was in my studio painting every day. And what came out of those paintings were these angels that are in Angels of Light. I had about 125 of them. Somebody asked me to do an exhibit in the town I live in at the best gallery in town. We had to submit our work, and I was chosen and had an exhibition, and I didn't enjoy the exhibition. It was too much exposure for me. And I thought, these would make a great card oracle. So I sent the pictures to my agent. She sent them to the publisher, and they loved them. And I thought, really? I went, really, really? So we worked together to create the oracle. And I'm actually submitting 3 more oracles now to the publisher. One on archangels, one on fairies, and one on the Blessed Virgin Mary. So we'll see if they go to print or not. But those paintings, here's the interesting thing. The day I signed the contract with the publisher, about a year and a half after this episode happened, work just started to flood into my life. And I thought, is that what it took for me to paint? And sometimes you have to ask yourself, did this situation that brought me to my knees open the doors for my creativity to flow out? And I'd like to get that message across to people, that sometimes you think that the rug has been pulled out from under your feet and terrible things happen, but there's never bad without good. The divine will never give you a bad situation without something good that comes from it. And I really learned that lesson in a major way. So now I've learned to make time for painting. I don't want to go through that one again. I've learned that when I have 2 weeks without clients, that's the time to sit down and write, or the time to sit down and paint. So I use my time creatively, and I don't have that fear anymore. I don't work out of fear or desperation. It's a wonderful, very freeing thing to have, that consciousness.
But so the angels appeared in your
Yeah.
right? So do you have a history with angels?
Yes, absolutely. From being a small child, my mother gave me an angel doll when I was very young, maybe 3. And she explained to me what angels were. And she said, there's one on your shoulder and it's always with you. And my mother died when I was in my early 20s. And it's something that has stayed with me all my life, what she said. When I was starting to write back in 1990, I wrote my first book. It was on the chakras. I had just returned from India. I was very inspired to write. And that was the first book that was published. But my agent said to me, you need to write about angels. And I said, why me? She said, because you've got the connection. And she's the one that saw it. She said, just try making an oracle with angels. So I sat down on my kitchen floor and I started tearing up pieces of paper. This was not premeditated, and started drawing stick figures, because that's all I could draw at the time. Or like children draw little stick figures. And then I wrote it out and I sent it to her. This is before email, when we still used the post. And she took it to the publishers, the same people that published Angels of Light. They asked me to come to London. We had a meeting. They asked me to give them a reading, which I don't do publicly. I teach about angels, I teach about chakras, I teach about energy, but I don't do public readings. I do them for myself, I do them for family and friends, but I know it's not a vocation.
So, that means you are also a medium.
Yes, I'm a mystic is what I am. I'm a mystic. I don't call myself a medium, but I do channel. All this comes through me. I don't have the intelligence to think this, nor would I even presume to think this what comes through. I feel very guided and very blessed to have this connection. The publisher asked he had a very specific question about his son. And I gave the reading, and he must have been impressed, because they went to contract. And they published the Angel Oracle, which has sold, I think, close to 2.5 million copies worldwide since it came out I believe it came out in 1995. And it's in 14 languages. It's gone around the world a zillion times. And I've done 3 other books on angels, just the writing and the prayers. There was a beautiful book called The Angelic Year, which is no longer in print. A beautiful book published by Carolyn Brown in Britain. They had another one on angel blessings for babies that was just beautiful. I got tons of letters from mothers and grandmothers, people who said, thank you for the book. So there's been definitely a connection with the spirit realm and the world of angels. But to paint, to see my own paintings emerge in a product, it's just, I mean, I gasp. And it's wonderful. And it inspires me to paint more. Thank you. It was a thrill. It was a great thrill to see it. And I love oracles. I think oracles are a great way to to see the unconscious present itself in form.
Definitely. And I'm excited because we mostly give out books without the oracle or without the card, obviously. But this is such a nice package. I have to show it just to have shown it in this interview. So this is the English version. You can see one of the paintings on the box, and then we have you just pull it out like that, and here's a little book, and here's the deck. And the deck is, if you have did you say 128? And here is 52.
Yeah, well, we picked 52. 52 is a good number for an oracle deck.
Tell me how. What is the number 52? What does it mean?
Number of weeks in the year.
One thing.
Yeah. I think if you have too many cards, like in the 80s or 70s, it's over. You can't even shuffle them. You know, they're too big. I like 42 and 52. 42 is a number of change. And when people turn 42, in astrology, they go through what's called the Uranus return, which is like being catapulted into adulthood, into maturity, taking responsibility for your life. So I like that number. But I liked 52 for this. It just, one for every week of the year. Why not?
Agree. So, I told you earlier that when I first kind of met you with your, actually not you in person, but I met this. That was what I met when meeting with your publisher on the book fair in Frankfurt and London, actually. So I said to myself, this deck needs to meet the Swedish audience in Swedish, because it's such a beautiful deck, and we don't have so many Swedish angel decks. And
you have Swedenborg, who came from Sweden. Swedenborg was one of my direct inspirations for angels. He was from, I don't know if it was Gothenburg or Stockholm. He was Swedish.
Oh, who is he?
Swedenborg was considered the most intelligent man of his time. He was an engineer in the 17th century. He built bridges and did a great public works in Sweden. And when he was in his early 50s, he had a presentation from the Christ. And the Christ appeared to him every day for 28 years. He stopped working as an engineer and became a writer, and a church started, I believe, in Sweden around him. His name was Swedenborg, you would say.
Yeah.
And when I first got the contract to do the angel oracle, I needed some resources, and so I was meditating and asking, please tell me what books I need, or where do I go? It's like, And I heard two names. One was Rudolf Steiner, and the other was Swedenborg. And that day, I was walking in the town I lived in England, and I looked up, and there was a window, and it had writing on it that said the Swedenborgian Church. Oh my God. I'd never heard of it before that day of meditation. But he was Swedish.
That's funny.
And his churches have gone all over the world. He was, I don't want to say a modern day mystic, because he wasn't modern, but he had a very precise vision of the spirit realm. And he had many, many followers. Worth looking into that, because that's part of your heritage.
Yes, I guess so. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I don't know about him.
Well, you just got your education there.
Thank you. So we talked a little bit about what the angels played, what role angels played in your life so far. How do you communicate with the angels today?
Well, because I understand the energy system of the chakras, the throat chakra, which rules over the ears, the throat, the mouth, is known metaphysically as the mouth of God. And there is a saying amongst mystics that angels whisper in your ears. There are even beautiful paintings from the Renaissance of angels talking in the ears of the saints. And so I believe that angels whisper in our ears. And if I have questions to ask, do I turn right? Do I turn left? You know, yes, you turn left. I take that as guidance. I get lost a lot. So I ask, you know, there's so much uncertainty in our time, especially. And we all need guidance. We all need to be able to tap into the wise guidance of our spirit. And I believe that angels speak to us in words, in songs, in signs, in telephone calls, in postcards, in emails. They're working with us all the time. They are the messengers of God, the messengers of the divine, and they bring us solutions. They bring us answers to prayers. And they guide us on our way. How could we do this alone? Carolyn Mays, who's a great mystic of our time and a great writer, once said you couldn't tie your shoes without the help of the angels. And I think she's right. In Kabbalah and ancient Jewish mysticism, they say there is an angel for every blade of grass. Think about that. I mean, really.
More than people on earth.
Yes, more than you could imagine. And people who have written about angels, I have a dictionary of angels. It's just amazing. It's an amazing book to look at. They're in our lives, and it's up to us to make the connection. They wait for us to make the connection.
Yes, that's very true. And the oracle is very good too. The nice thing about this, I think, one of the nice things is that the angels are not the regular angels that you normally find.
No, they're not.
Tell me about it.
So when I did the paintings, I'd look at them, I was like, oh my goodness, how did this emerge on this piece of paper? Really, some of them just like stunned me. And then it was time to name them. And I would say, and who are you? You know, what is your name? And I'd hear, I'm the angel of silence, or I'm the angel of grace, or I'm the angel of sweet shyness, or new love, or the angel of the sisterhood or the brotherhood, the angel of women, the angel of men, the angel of nurturing. It was just, they gave me their names and I wrote them down on the paintings. And then when I had the exhibition, on the back of the frame, I actually wrote a prayer for each one of those angels, which is something I really like doing. They just spoke through me.
Is that the affirmation that we actually find in the book?
Yes, the affirmation and the prayers or the meditation. Yeah.
So here, for example, angel number 12, angel of spiritual tempest. So
Mm-hmm.
the affirmation is, I face my challenges with courage and prevail in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
So each angel like this has a fantastic, colorful picture and a lot of information about it, meaning, prayer, affirmation, commentary, and things. So it's a very, this book contains a lot of material that we can use in our everyday lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's there to serve. It's there to help.
Yes, definitely. So how would you describe yourself as a person?
Well, I'm a grown woman. I believe in choice and freedom. I believe in beauty. I believe in kindness. I serve the world in the best way I can as a homeopath, as a teacher, as a friend. I like silence. I do well with solitude. That's when I'm the most creative. I manage my life in the best way I can to ensure that I have the solitude I need to be as creative as I know I can be. And then I like to have fun. I love days off. I love small vacations. I used to travel a lot. I spent 30 years traveling the world. I stayed in England for 10 years. I lived 20 years in Spain and Africa. I've traveled to India. I've spent a lot of time in Egypt and Turkey, Greece. I've been to Helsinki 3 times, as I said. I don't know your part of the world, but I'd certainly love to come and visit. And I don't travel as much anymore. I like my garden. I like my studio. I like my friends. My world is a lot more peaceful and settled. I'm not in a training. I trained for 7 years as a homeopath and had a very full practice of seeing many, many people a day. I still have private practice, but very small. And I teach. I run a school teaching homeopathy and the chakras, and I do that online so people anywhere in the world can join. And I love the teaching. I love seeing people learning this brilliant medicine and holding it in a context of understanding the energy system. Whether people believe in angels or not is really up to them. I don't try and force that on anybody. I'm happy with my life. I'm at peace. I'm healthy, sound mind, but I'm quiet. I'm a bit of an, I don't want to say a recluse, a bit of a recluse because of my work.
What is a recluse?
A recluse is somebody who stays at home and works on her desk. The more time I have for that, the happier I am. I get to write, I get to paint, I spend time in my garden, I spend time in meditation and prayer. And the older I get, the more important that becomes in my life. And I do pray for people. There's a lot of suffering in the world. There's a lot of distress and irregularity in the world at the moment. And people are afraid. So I spend time praying. It's something I learned from the Dalai Lama during a crisis in the United States. When New Orleans was flooding several years ago, somebody said to him, "Are you going to go to New Orleans?" He said, "I don't have to go to New Orleans. All I have to do is pray for people there." And I thought, "Ooh, I like that." I like that. Yeah, and so I do. I pray for people I know and love, and people I don't know, pray for them too.
It's nice. It's warm.
Thank you.
So you are now in Tucson, Arizona. From all your travels around the world, you ended up in Tucson, Arizona. And if I understand correctly, that's not where you're from. You just ended up there.
I'm from California, from San Diego, a place of perfect weather, 72 degrees annual temperature. And it was so perfect, I had to leave. You can't stay in heaven forever. I mean, you'll never grow up. You'll never see anything else. You'll never be able to measure just how nice it was. But when I came back to America, it had changed so much. It's like Hollywood now. It's a very developed resort town. And I was there for a while when my father was still alive. He lived to be 97. And so I was close at hand so that I could see him regularly. But when he passed, I decided it was time to come away from California. It was something a little more, needed something a little more peaceful. And I met an acupuncturist, a Chinese doctor. He said to me, Ambika, if I was moving, I'd go to Tucson, Arizona. I said, really, why? He said, oh, it's a wonderful town. So I called some friends of mine who lived in Colorado, and I said, hey guys, do you want to meet me in Tucson, Arizona? Let's go take a look at it. So I drove from California, they drove down from Colorado. We spent a week here and I bought a house. And within a month I had moved here. That was 15 years ago, and I've never regretted a moment of it. It's got components of every place I've lived. It's a bit of Africa, it's a bit of Spain. It's a huge population of Latinos here who are Spanish speaking, and it's a language I know and love. There are times it reminds me of England. There are times it reminds me of Egypt. It's just, it's a very sweet, quiet town. And I think about having to go to New York and I go, oh, you know, it's like, how do people live like that? But they do.
But you change also. As you mature, you change.
You do change. That's absolutely right. And I've settled down after all that traveling. I have wonderful memories. I have some sweet souvenirs, but it's kind of nice to settle down.
You have described yourself as a restless spirit.
I was a very restless spirit. I really wanted to see the world. I wanted to see the world and meet people. I had a desire from the time I was in my early 20s to go to Africa. And as it turned out, I met a Belgian, fell in love, got married, and went to live in Zaire, which was Congo, Belgian Congo, and spent 7 years there. It was like fascinating, absolutely fascinating. We would be there 10 months of the year, and then 2 months we would be on holiday in Europe. I traveled around Europe. I traveled in the Middle East. I've been to Turkey and Israel and Egypt. I had a great desire to go to Ethiopia. That was almost an overwhelming desire for many years, but they were at war. So it's one place I never went, but I do love to see Ethiopian people and I love their food.
It's where you actually eat with, isn't it also where you eat
bread.
Like a pancake, spongy?
Yeah, injera it's called, and it's wonderful food.
Yeah, I like it
Like
too.
I say, I would like to come to Norway, I would like to see Sweden, and I'd like to go to Japan before I die. So that's, you know, it's out there. It's something I'd love to do.
But I guess you will follow in your father's steps and be at least 96 years old.
I hope not. That's too old. That's too old. I want to be useful. If I'm not useful, I don't see the point in sticking around. That's my take on it. But health, to be healthy to the last minute is important. Whatever God gives me in terms of time. And to be ready to go home when it's time, to go home gracefully.
So true. We shouldn't stay here just for the sake of it, right?
No, I agree. I think I can't wait to go meet the great angels. Yeah.
I do understand that. You have a good connection with them already. So looking at your portfolio, I mean, angels is one thing, but you also talk about energies and you talk about the chakras and you talk about homeopathy. Looking at your website, homeopathy is a very big part of your life, right?
Yes, it's my daily bread and butter. That's how I make a living. I love teaching. I've got some wonderful, wonderful students, really extraordinary doctors and naturopaths, pharmacists, therapists, and people and farmers' wives, people who just want to learn about homeopathy. So it's a wonderful school. I put a lot of attention and focus on it. I have a small private practice where I treat cancer, heart disease, mental illness, all kinds of pathology, and that keeps me grounded. You can't be living in the realm of angels forever. It would be unbalanced. Garden. I recently started singing as I walk. It's very hot here and you have to water the garden every day. So I'm out there, I'm singing prayers and I'm saying prayers, Hindu prayers and Jewish prayers and Catholic prayers. I'm saying prayers and singing. My garden has never looked better. I'm not kidding. The garden is just exquisite this year. Not a lot of rain. So I'm thinking, well, maybe these elementals are responding to the power of prayer. I can't say for sure. I don't, I have no way to know, except for that the result of the flowers and the growth in my garden this year is unlike any other year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait to see my vegetable garden. I started this Sunday.
Oh, so in a couple of months you will
yes,
harvest. Fantastic.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think you should. You should let us know.
I will. I'll send pictures of my you know, my 20-pound cabbages.
Please. It's I think it's very nice to meet people who have this connection with angels, because I think also we know we need to be how do you say, to be reminded that they're here. For those who cannot see them, we need this kind of tool to work with them, to know that they're here already.
They're all around us. The spirit realm really guides us as best they can. They leave everything to our free choice. And I don't believe that they control us. This is not about control, it's about consciousness. And consciousness is about alignment, that we are one people, one planet, that we are guided in and protected in what we choose to do. And that hopefully we make wholesome choices for ourselves and for our lives and for those we love and care for. Because to live this life without a spiritual connection strikes me as being very dry and rather boring, actually.
Totally agree with you. So, bringing all your spiritual experience, because you have a lot of years behind you, and you also have a lot of like themes where you actually work with the homeopathy, the energies, the angels, and so on. Bringing it all together, what would be your top 3 recommendations for people to bring more harmony into their lives?
It's a good question. That's a lovely question. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in kindness. Just be kind. You don't know what people are suffering. And to deepen your awareness inward, that victimhood and blame are very low levels of consciousness. Bring your awareness in, get to know who you are and what you're made of, and awaken your connection with the spirit realm, with what is holy and sacred and good, because it is there. And it can help assuage a lot of pain and a lot of suffering that's part of life. So that would be it. You know, eat well, exercise a lot, drink good water. All that goes without saying.
Yeah, it does. And what
it goes without saying.
The 3 points that you pointed out, the first,
prayer.
Yeah, I actually think that if you turn inward, it's easier to be kind. It's easier to be conscious.
I agree. But I also think being kind can help you go inward. That when you realize that we are all connected. At a deep level, we are all connected. And that you have power over your thoughts is a very huge thing. That we have the power to manifest our desires and create the world the way we want it to be. What I say is dream the world the way you would like it to be. I met somebody recently who was going blind, a young hippie who was going blind from the wrong things, taking too many of the wrong things.
Having fun though, perhaps.
Yeah. And we were talking and I said, you need to see the world in the way you want it to be. Use those eyes to imagine the beauty, the grace, the joy, the kindness, the love that's out there, and you will heal your eyes. And I do believe that. You know, when people self-medicate with drugs, recreational drugs, medications, or acts of violence even, their view of the world is going to be very dark and very unwholesome. See the world the way you want it to be. Create it with your mind's eye. Dream the world the way you want it to be. I guess that would be the message I would like to leave with your readers, because it's possible. We all can make the world a better place. I do believe that.
Yeah, and with that, not being in a dream world, but actually creating it for real, or
For real. Yes. And it's a choice, like everything else. It's a choice. Let go of the past, forgive those that hurt you, find gratitude for what you have, see the glass half full and not half empty. These are all the tools that we need.
yes, it's
Find pleasure in small and simple things.
and the thing is, a lot of those things are so common to us. It's something that we know, and yada. However, you can think about it, and every time you think about it, it could actually give you something more.
Absolutely.
I spoke about this with my cousin today, and actually, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how often you hear something. If you hear something being repeated to you, you can actually get new messages every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the angels whispering in your ears.
Exactly. And that's when you need this, and you pull a new card, and all of a sudden you will get a new message, because it never gets old, right?
No, it never gets old, and you'll get new answers. You'll come to understand what the cards mean to you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just an archetype. You get to fill it in for yourself. What does this mean in your life today, now? Because it won't be the same tomorrow.
True. So finally, what would you like to say to all the angel interested people in Sweden?
Well, hello. First of all, hello. And I'm just delighted that a new population of angel lovers is opening up in my consciousness. And I send you blessings of joy and health and prosperity and goodwill, and pass that on. Pass it on wherever you go in the world.
Certainly we will. I can't wait to see the light of LJUSETS ÄNGLAR, or the light of angels of light. That is called LJUSETS ÄNGLAR in Swedish.
I had to look it up. When the book arrived, I didn't know what language it was. I said, is this Dutch? What language is this?
You have it already.
Yeah, they sent it to me. And so my text said, well, let's Google it. So we put it into Google, and he said, it's Swedish. I said, oh, Swedish. I've never been published in Swedish before. So what a delight. And thank you so much. And I hope everybody enjoys the Oracle. I think it's beautiful. It comes from my heart. It comes from the spirit realm. And it's meant to bless you and heal you and inspire you.
And I'm so sure it will, for many, many of our members and our readers. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, Ambika, for your time. We've spoken an hour, and it's been so nice. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I hope we meet again.